All right. Hello and welcome to Intuitively Tuned In with Kaileen Cox. I am very excited today to be interviewing my dear friend and incredible intuitive channeler and author, Allison Sutter. Thank you for joining me here today, Allison. How's your day going?
Pretty good. How about you?
Doing well. Even better now that I'm here with you. So, for those who do not know Allison yet, I'm sorry, but I'm glad you're meeting her now. She is a fabulous author who only recently started using the title author, although you've written 5 books. You have the 6 coming out, something like that.
I'm slow to label.
That's fair. You have, let's see. Oops, sorry, I lost my train of thought there. You have been teaching for over 20 years. You have 500 plus people as students, but the beautiful thing about you is that you truly believe there is no teacher knows the answer, student gets the answer, throws it back up on the teacher.
Yeah, I mean, clearly being in standardized education, and that's where I was professionally trained, I was in that world, but it's not where I am now. That has no place in spirituality, intuition, metaphysics, just doesn't.
Well, since you said metaphysics, let's jump in there. What are some of your metaphysics principles, ideas that like really your intuition, what you're channeling is speaking to right now? Because why not, right?
Yeah, I mean, I love the title. I love the title of that you put on the post, which was, I think it was like, was it, are you intuitive? No, it wasn't. What is intuition to you? What was the title of it? I can't remember. It made me think of something specific though. It was like, oh shoot, I was thinking of it last night. The title that you put on the post, the social media post, got me thinking about what it means to be intuitive. And like the wording specifically spoke to being like,
yeah. So the wording was, what does it mean to be intuitive?
All right. So what does it mean to be intuitive? Right. Yeah. So that specific wording really struck me because I was like, well, it kind of gives an opening for people to be like, well, I'm not intuitive. I want to become intuitive, versus honoring the fact that because you were born into this physical time-space realm, it's innate. Like you don't have to become intuitive, it's a natural component. Whether you use it or not is completely up to you in this experience. So in terms of the metaphysical umbrella, intuition absolutely is one of those components. And you and I have talked about mediumship and channeling and this the clairs and all of these different concepts that go under that umbrella, that now I'm starting to utilize more of those words, that terminology, to describe myself, to describe what I do. Absolutely.
So you had said, maybe there's someone out there watching this like, I'm not intuitive. How do I do that? So where do you direct people to point their focus when you start exploring this? Like the word intuition came to you. Where do you start?
You have to figure out what it means to you, right? Like, because that's, it's like the baseline is, what is my relationship with this word? Every single word that you have, the reason why people get in disagreements is because they have different relationships with the meaning and context of words. Every single misunderstanding is based on a different way of approaching a concept. So what is your definition of intuition? What is your relationship with that word? Is it, and talking with people, the more you talk, the more it comes out that they'll organically say things, well, I'm not intuitive, or, I can't be because fill in the blank, or, the wording that they use starts to become evidence of their belief system, which is, intuition is for miraculous situations or special people, or blah, 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 the artists community or the writers, or they have some excuse that excludes them from the definition. So I often say, well, let's redefine that, include yourself in the definition to the degree that you're comfortable. You don't want to make yourself uncomfortable and push against a definition. You just want to make yourself comfortable within the realm of the way you're exploring it. It's like, for example, somebody says or believes that they are not intuitive because what? They're a man, because they're a scientist, because they're a whatever, insert the lie that you tell yourself, insert the, the misinformation. But you want to just include yourself in that by saying, well, what if I was actually born intuitive? What would that look like for me? What would it sound like? How would my experiences be coming through if I were resonant with that terminology? Just start small. You don't need to jump to the top of the mountain in one fell swoop. Just little baby steps, little things that make you comfortable. You don't have to call yourself. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I didn't label myself a medium, is because I wasn't ready to have a relationship with that word. I didn't feel competent in that regard. I had occasional occurrences of things, but I didn't feel the competency equated to labeling myself with that word medium until I did. Same thing can go with someone who doesn't believe they're intuitive. If they don't feel like they have the skill level, don't go there. Just, I got a gut feeling, or I got an inkling, or I got a hunch. Use words that are softer, that don't cost you a sense of not being enough.
Absolutely. I love that, because it's like saying, wherever you are in this beautiful journey is perfect. And also honor the words that currently resonate with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you were going to say, I'm an intuitive expert, and you just started with the word intuitive, well, maybe that doesn't resonate.
Yeah. Take it small. Business owners who want to do something within the metaphysical realm and they haven't quite adopted that terminology for themselves can cause a sense of angst, trying to push it out into the world with a definition that you're not comfortable with. So just do what you're comfortable with.
So you mentioned gut feeling. My gut is pointing me there. So what would you say to someone when they're like, all I get is gut feelings?
I would say you're allowing gut feelings to be the way that this multidimensional information comes through you at the moment. There are other multidimensionalities, such as thought, such as hunches, such as inklings, such as all sorts of different things that you haven't associated with that way in which things are coming through. It doesn't mean they're not coming through. It just means you haven't connected the dots yet, which is fine. Just start where you are. If gut feeling feels good, ask yourself, how can I have more of these gut feelings? And then connect the dot between the gut feeling and the experience itself, or something that's happening in my reality. Start to piece it together. You got to be the detective who puts together the mystery of how you actually are 100% intuitive, but you're missing some of the pieces. They're just sort of floating by without your awareness and recognition.
So would you say you accepted or brought into your awareness the word intuitive and then discovered channel, or how did your personal, and of course, this is just your personal journey.
Yeah.
But share that a little bit with us.
Well, I just started with things that I thought were exciting. I started listening to other mediums. I started listening to other channels. I resonated with videos and movies that were sort of esoteric in nature. The Sixth Sense that came out many, many years ago, right? Like these books and movies and stories and conversations that sort of explored this really weird kind of concept, and just for the fun of it, because I thought that was really interesting. And as you follow those interesting hits, you lead yourself through the doorways that have more and more context, that has that, that kind of context to it, the more you can explore your relationship to it. And then coming all the way back to the very beginning, I now realize that my sensitiveness, my intuitiveness as a child, not being, in a family that recognized or would honor any of that, I spent most of my life running from it, trying to hide it with drugs and alcohol and lack of self-love and misunderstanding of self. A lot of people who are deeply intuitive recognize it as a child, but then they're raised in circumstances where the adults or supervisors of them don't honor that. And so it causes great grief not to be recognizing your whole self. There are lots of things we do: eating disorders, drinking, self-harm, deprecation, things that we do because we don't understand. We've been doing this our whole life. So
Right.
if this is an exciting topic to someone, I invite you to look back over time to the ways in which you sort of knew on a level it was happening, or there were inexplicable things happening. You knew how someone was feeling, or you could sort of predict things that were going to happen in a situation, or you had visions and connections with, otherworldly, esoteric personalities and things that you couldn't honor because the adults in your world wouldn't let you do that. It wasn't the right thing to do. So
I think that's so powerful, and how, so many of us out here can resonate with that. Absolutely. And then, I know you have beautiful children. Do you have any suggestions or intuitive thoughts right now for any parents out there that are like, okay, so she was raised to kind of, suppress, and how do you foster?
you have to recognize that these children have an inner being and they're being led down a path, and they're being led down a path of exploration for topics, careers, friends, situations, circumstances that your inner being is not going to necessarily, or you as a person, I wouldn't say your inner being, I'd say you as a person may not recognize. They may cause fear in you, but your child is being led. So let them follow that path, recognize the fear it causes you because it's not your path, and sit back and relax a little bit, knowing that no matter what experiences they're having that to you seem like the wrong one, they're not making the right choice, that's going to cause them harm. People are going to laugh at them. They're going to be whatever. And just shut your mouth because it's really easy to speak from a fear-based place, thinking you are doing the best thing for your kid when you're really just speaking from fear.
Right. Do you want to speak on that a little bit? Like how you personally know the difference between, intuition, guidance, all that, and what that feels like and what fear feels like for you?
Yeah. So intuitive ideas are based in love. So they feel easy and expanding. So discernment comes in here. You as a person, as a parent, have to be cognizant and aware in the situation, whether you're getting a feeling of constriction, your shoulders tight, your lungs are tight, your heart is tight, your belly's tight, your muscles are tight, you're worried. That sense of fear that gets triggered in you. If you have that energy that's in a constrictive state, and then you speak, you got to recognize you're speaking from a place of fear. Versus, and it takes hundreds and hundreds and thousands of conversations to recognize when you're doing it. It takes hundreds and hundreds and thousands of conversations to slow your momentum when you're doing it, because it's a very big parenting paradigm. We all talk about how worried we are about our kids, how they're making the wrong choices, how they shouldn't be doing this. And if they do this, they're not going to get to that place where we think they should go. And there's a million conversations you can participate in your social groups and your families about how you're worried about your children. So you got to recognize when you're speaking from a place of fear, and then slow the roll, man, shut your mouth. Recognize you're about to inflame a situation. And usually your kid comes up and gets defensive because you've just put fuel on the fire, right? They understand intuitively that they're being led down a path of all the perfect experiences for them to go do the right types of things. So intuition comes from a place of non-judgment, not a fear-based place, a love-based place. The reaction is typically a non-inflamed reaction from the child, because the energy that it's coming from isn't one of, poking at them.
Absolutely. Yeah, giving that pause, not reaction. I love that. That's so important. And the world's ready to hear it, right? We wouldn't be talking about it right now unless they were truly ready to hear it.
Well, I'm going to out myself too. I just had a conversation literally this morning where the momentum, the desire to have the conversation, because somebody said something. So it was sort of like through the grapevine thing. Like a friend of my child's said that their parent said transphobic comments to them, and that child felt the need to pass it through to my child. And since I know this person, I tried to figure out like how they even figured that out, right? And I was trying to have this conversation, trying to figure out, and a child's like, I don't want to have that conversation. And then I was like, oh, right, I get it, because it's coming from a place of constriction and anger and fear. The most expertise, or the most expert metaphysical people will still have conversations in fear. You're never going to get rid of them. You just want to catch them. You want to shut them down when they're happening, and you want to move in a different direction and not get defensive because the kid was like, I don't want to talk about that. You just gotta be, okay, next topic.
Right. So, and part of becoming more aware of what you're saying, the power you're giving to words, is supported by doing a program such as your Accelerate Your Mojo. So let's talk about it, because people are watching this right now and they're like, I love Allison. I want to work with her. So what does that look like? Tell me all about it.
Okay. So Accelerate Your Mojo, because we're talking about meaning. Accelerate means realize sooner. Mojo is that connection to source energy, your inner being. To me, that's the way I define it, because mojo has a funky meaning and people are like, mojo. I'm like, well, how are you defining it here?
Right.
So that's what it means.
Powers.
Exactly. So to me, it means realizing your connection to source sooner than you would have otherwise. Like, that's all it is. And source is that loving inner being. I also realized that as a teacher, that we do well with certain kinds of skeletal structures. So there are 7 steps, which just means 7 perspectives that we look through. I personally work with people over 9 to 12 months, precisely because the evidence they're looking for is within the context of their daily life. So they have concepts that we're looking at, these 7 different lenses through which we look at things. And then they have the meat, which is their life. And the cool part is it is so individualized, because what they're looking at is what's happening in their life, right? If I were to say, here's a program and here's exactly what you're going to do, and here's how long you're going to do it, and this is exactly what's going to transform from it, that's standardized education, which doesn't work, which we know. So this other thing is an incredibly individualized program, where we work together online for 9 to 12 months. And I say 9 to 12 months because guess what? People get sick, they go on vacation, they're like, oops, I double booked myself. So the whole program is structured to induce peace of mind. Absolutely. Right? We have enough time. There's absolutely no rush. And the not ironic thing is my clients say to me, God, things are happening so fast. It's so easy. I'm like, duh, because that's what I baked into the program, right? The whole program is baked on, it's easy. It's not hard. It's easy to create the kind of inner ease. It's easy to create the kind of external situations. And when they don't happen, you recognize how, your vibrational momentum helped create your perception and your experience. So it really is a release from victimization. It's a release from this concept of things are happening to me to they're happening through me. And, oh yeah, I can actually shift my perspective. I can have a different perspective other than one, then things will never happen for me, or I'll always be unhappy. Or I work with a lot of perfectionists, people pleasers, people who are just they're sick of it. They're sick of the standard, monologue. They're sick of it has to be done a certain way. And they're ready just to be given permission to do it how their intuition is asking them, inviting them to.
I love that. So if someone's watching this right now and you're like, oh, it can be simple. And we've kind of been taught, a lot of us have been drilled into, to get what we want, we have to work hard. And what do you have to say to that?
So I literally just wrote an email about, I don't know if you read it, it was an email this morning about how to diminish or dissolve the sense of frustration with goal setting. Because goal setting is I don't do goal setting. I don't advise people to goal setting, but a lot of people do goal setting. So it was like that. And in that email, I talked about this paradigm of I've got to work hard, which is, which is basically saying I need to struggle. If I don't struggle, it ain't worth it. Or I can't get what I want without struggle. And part of the email talked about the difference between the physical mind's job and the higher mind's job. And the physical mind, its job is actually just to be present in the moment and sift through what's happening right now. It's not actually to goal set. But when you try to goal set and you give that job to the physical mind, it can't do it. It's not equipped to do it, which is why it gets so frustrated and why you feel like you have to push through, because you're not allowing the context of the higher mind to help deliver intuitive ideas, synchronicity, your spirit guides to work with you. You're not using the leverage of multidimensionality, and so basically in the email, I'm like, that paradigm is one that was invoked by a generation of people who believed in disconnection.
Mm-hmm.
It's done, it's over, we're going to let it go, where it's a new era. And the era is one of mind, body, spirit connection. This idea that you can use the leverage of your non-physical self to help in the creative process. So it's more free flowing. So I would say you got to be willing to let go of the generation that taught you it was about knuckling it. Wait, knuckle it, get it done, work hard, pull through. That's over. What we're going to do now is play.
Right.
And watch the creative process unfold through harnessing your multidimensionality, your intuition, your spirit guides, your soul teams, your whatever, to help the unfolding process happen in a way that is perfectly timed for what you need to know.
I love it. So what if someone's sitting right now and they're like, well, I mean, setting goals clearly works. Look at this generation of the successful people. Do you want to speak to how
Sure.
yes, that works? But
I would say, you know what? Sure, they're accumulating a lot of crap. But if you really talk to people, there's a lot of stress. There's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of unhappiness. There's a lot of divorce. There's a lot of, panic attacks. There's a lot of numbing with alcohol and abuse of self. And there's accumulation of goods maybe, but we need to back up from this concept of what is your definition of success? Is it putting on a stale face and pummeling through with the idea that it's about how people perceive you? Or are we ready to just relax a little bit? You can get stuff done by white knuckling it. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. It's not a question of how things come to fruition. It's what do you want to experience, right? You can push through in resistance and then end up with cancer and diabetes and a headache and backaches and you can do it.
Right.
Would you rather do it in a way that allows not only physical health to become better, but also, just the process of creation to be more fun and smoother and less stressful, and more appropriate, meaning what's appropriate for you to be experienced versus trying to claw at what's appropriate for other people. There's a lot of comparison. You have this, I should have this. No, it's not appropriate for you to have that because you don't have it. So let's look at what's appropriate for you to experience and have. Drop the comparison. So, a lot can be said about that.
Absolutely. For the first time, I just saw a vision as you were talking of, if you're looking at a wall, you can get through that wall, right? You can run into it enough times that you will get through that wall. But you can also look to the side and see that there's a door and I can open that door and just walk through, right? And so that's what you're asking people to do. Open the door and just start walking through. And if you want support, reach out to Allison. I want to wrap up here with your intuitive message to the world. Now, it was beautiful. I will put it in the comments if you're comfortable with that, for anyone to read it is something you channeled. But for now, what part of that do you want to share with the world? Or something totally different?
I don't remember what I said. A lot of times when I write, I just write from a place of,
I know exactly what you mean.
Giving myself over to being a vehicle for love. But I think it was, I don't remember what it said. But what I can say, what I'll say now is, what I'm guided to say is that now is the time to release judgment of self and other, this comparative kind of thing that we do with each other. It's time to just be like, you know what? That's not really fun anymore. Mm-hmm. What I'd really like to do is honor and respect my own path, is enrich my own path, my individuality, everything that I'm experiencing inside and out. I want to honor, and this is where confidence and true joy comes from. It's just feeling willing to say, this is how I want it. This is how I want to do it. I mean, it's the difference between the analogy of like when I used to go to BNI, Business Network International, when I was first starting out and I was coaching someone else's program and I got myself this really itchy, starchy, custom made shirt, that I thought I had to have. And it was really uncomfortable. And I tried to join all these meetings that I thought I needed to go to versus just sharing stuff the way that I share it in my t-shirts and my baggy pants. It's like there's more propulsion now than I ever had then in terms of connecting with the right people that I need to connect with. So just be yourself. It's enough.
Absolutely. That is exactly where we'll end. So thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you for tuning in to Intuitively Tuned In with Kaileen Cox. And thank you, Allison, for joining us. I will put your website, your email in the comments. So if you want to reach out to her, there you can do it. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.